The hidden horror in your favorite fairy tales. Once upon a time. These 4 words have lulled generations into a sense of comfort and wonder. Fairy tales, with their magical kingdoms, brave heroes, and happy endings, seem like the perfect escape from reality. But what if I told you that beneath the glittering surface of these beloved stories lies a darker, more sinister truth? A truth that has been hidden for centuries, waiting to be uncovered. Fairy tales weren't always meant for children. In fact, many of these stories originated as cautionary tales, designed to terrify and warn. The brothers Grimm, Hans Christian Andersen, and Charles Perrault didn't sugarcoat their narratives. They were filled with violence, betrayal, and horror. These stories were mirrors reflecting the harsh realities of life, and the monsters weren't just in the tales, they were among us. Take Cinderella, for example. We all know the story of the kind-hearted girl who escapes her cruel stepmother and stepsisters with the help of a fairy godmother. But did you know that in some versions, the stepsisters mutilate their own feet to fit into the glass slipper? Or that birds peck out their eyes as punishment for their cruelty? This isn't just a story of triumph, it's a tale of revenge and brutality. Snow White, the fairest of them all, is another story that hides a gruesome secret. The evil queen doesn't just ask for Snow White's heart, she demands her lungs and liver as proof of her death. In some versions, the queen is forced to dance in red-hot iron shoes until she dies. These aren't just acts of evil, they're acts of pure, unrelenting horror. Hansel and Gretel, the brave siblings who outsmart a witch, is often seen as a story of resilience. But let's not forget the cannibalistic witch who fattens children to eat them. Or the fact that the children's own parents abandon them in the forest to starve. This isn't just a story of survival, it's a story of abandonment, desperation, and the darkest corners of human nature. Little Red Riding Hood is often remembered as a simple story of a girl and a wolf. But the original versions are far more disturbing. The wolf doesn't just eat the grandmother, he tricks Red into cannibalism, feeding her grandmother's flesh and blood. And in some versions, there's no heroic woodsman to save the day. The story ends in tragedy, a stark reminder of the dangers that lurk in the world. Even the seemingly innocent tale of the Little Mermaid has a dark undercurrent. In Hans Christian Andersen's original story, the mermaid doesn't get her happy ending. She loses her voice, endures excruciating pain with every step, and ultimately dissolves into sea foam when the prince marries another. This isn't a story of love, it's a story of sacrifice, suffering, and unfulfilled dreams. These stories weren't just meant to entertain, they were meant to teach. They warned children about the dangers of strangers, the consequences of disobedience, and the harsh realities of life. But as these tales were sanitized and adapted for modern audiences, their darker lessons were lost. We've been lulled into a false sense of security, forgetting the horrors that once lurked in these stories. Today, fairy tales are often seen as harmless fantasies. But the hidden horrors within them still resonate. They remind us that the world isn't always a kind place, that evil often wears a charming disguise, and that happy endings aren't guaranteed. Perhaps it's time we revisit these stories, not as children, but as adults, and confront the truths they've been hiding all along. So the next time you hear, "Once Upon a Time," remember that these stories are more than just whimsical tales. They are windows into the human psyche, reflections of our deepest fears and darkest desires. The hidden horror in your favorite fairy tales isn't just a relic of the past, it's a part of who we are. And maybe, just maybe, that's the most terrifying truth of all.
If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, share and subscribe to 5 A Minute Storybook for more motivational content.